Hey everybody. So the writing section, just like the reading section, now has graphs within them. And if you're comfortable with graphs, reading the axes and understanding them, it shouldn't be that hard. But just in case you're not, I'm going to go over how to interpret graphs really clearly and effectively in this lesson.
Graphs are pretty easy to read, but if you're not that comfortable reading them, it's only because you haven't had enough practice. And you should go through these 3 steps. First is always read the title. It'll give you a clue as to what the graph is showing you. Then, establish which variables each axis represents. Finally, determine the relationship between variables, on the axis that is, for each entity. The question asks, at this point the writer wants to add specific information that supports the main topic of the paragraph. So I need to find 2 things. I need to find the specific information that's true, and I need to find something that supports the main topic. Okay? So which of these is relevant and accurate? Let's check the first one. The first one said that 64% of respondents noted that co-working spaces prevented them from completing tasks in a given time. Let's use our method on the graph to make sure we understand it. Step 1, read the title. Perceived effect of co-working on business skills. Okay, so what effect does co-working have on? Oh, here's the y-axis. Looks like the business skills are the y-axis. The different kinds of skills. That means that the x-axis must be the perceived effect. So here we have the perceived effect, 2%, 74%. But what does that mean? That doesn't make sense to me. How can 74% be an effect? When I look at the entities here, the darker color is the positive impact. So 74% thought it had a positive impact, whereas 2% thought it had a negative impact. So let's go through A, B, C, and D and see which of these is accurate, and then we'll check for relevance. A said 64% thought that prevented them from completing tasks in a given time. Here's completing tasks in a given time. 64% is there, but 64% think it's positive. And I see here that it prevented them, so that's negative. So A is actually opposite to what the graph shows me. B says that 71% of respondents indicated that using a co-working space increased their creativity. Well, that's positive, increasing creativity. Here's creativity. Here's 71%. B works. It's accurate. C says respondents credited co-working spaces with giving them 74% of their ideas relating to business. Well, here's ideas relating to business. And crediting the co-working spaces with that is definitely positive, and the number is 74%. So C is also accurate. D says respondents revealed that their ability to focus on their work improved by 12% in a co-working space. Well, their ability to focus is right here, and it's saying that it improved, yet I see that it's a negative thing that was 12%. And to be honest, it's not even clear whether their focus decreased by 12%. It's 12% of respondents. But either way, we know that's not the right answer, right? It can't be right. So B and C we're left with. But which of these is relevant? What's the point of the paragraph? What most caught my interest, though, was a quotation from someone who described co-working spaces as melting pots of creativity. Creativity. Answer has been given. Straightforward. All right, let's look at the next one. Let's start with the graph this time. Let's read the graph first. Step 1, read the title. Average daily high and low temperature recorded at Nuuk Weather Station, Greenland, from this period to this period. Okay, so it's the average, and I see, of course, on the y-axis is the temperature, and I see on the x-axis is time, the different months. So these must be the entities. I see the average daily high in a given month and the average daily low in a given month on a given date. All right, now that I understand the graph, what's the question asking? Which choice most accurately and effectively represents the information in the graph? So basically, what's accurate? Well, the sentence says, it's a long one, but basically the size of the ice sheet fluctuates seasonally in summer average daily high temperatures in Greenland can rise to slightly above 50 degrees Fahrenheit, partially melting the ice. In the winter, the sheet thickens as additional snow falls, and average daily low temperatures can drop to. So I want to describe average daily low temperatures in the winter. Well, the winter starts in December, right? Like December, I guess, to Feb, technically. So I guess it drops as low as, around 12 degrees or so. A says it drops as low as 20 degrees, but it definitely goes lower than that. It's below 20 for sure, right? B says to 12 degrees Fahrenheit. I mean, it looks like the 12 degrees is outside of February, so maybe not in the winter, but it's not that far off. It's pretty close. C says to the lowest point on December 13th. Well, December 13th is this line right here, but that's well above 12 degrees. So that's definitely not true that it's the lowest point. D, to 10 degrees Fahrenheit and stay there for months. Well, did it drop to 10 degrees and stay there for months? No, it did not. So, although I can't precisely say that it's 12 degrees, the other choices are just totally off. And B is kind of right. It looks roughly right for a graph. So that's going to be my answer right there, B. So for graphs, remember, read the title. Establish which variables each axis represents. Understand what the graph's showing you. And more importantly, the third step, you got to understand what's actually being graphed. What are the entities? And what's the relationship being shown between those two variables? For example, a nice easy one would be, think about your classmates and everyone has a certain height and everyone has a certain weight. Well, use weight as the y-axis and height as the x-axis perhaps, right? And every entity would be a different person in your class. And you might spot a point on that graph to show where everyone is. Okay, I hope that helps. Graphs are fairly straightforward. You just need to practice a little bit, and you'll find you get these questions right every single time.